14 miles to the Cumberland Gap, Cumberland Gap, Cumberland Gap, 14 miles to the Cumberland Gap.
Today, that combination of Scots-Irish and English and German settlers has created the unique way of life of Appalachia.
Cumberland Gap, 14 miles to the Cumberland Gap, Cumberland Gap, 14 miles to the Cumberland Gap.
In Appalachia, they say that where the English built a house and the Germans a barn, the Scots-Irish built a whiskey still. Willard Watson is an old moonshiner, and he calls his brew Mountain Lightning.
A pint is enough, and a pint is just about too much. If you drink a pint of moonshine whiskey and you won't know where the sun went down or where it come up. She'll get you where you couldn't hit the wall with a handful of beans.
Professor Kratos Williams is known as the father of Appalachian studies. He grew up in the mountains here and likes to keep in touch with what he calls his hillbilly roots.
Good morning, Willard.
Yes, sir. Kratos, I'm wonderful to see you.
I'm glad to see you.
According to Kratos Williams, although the English and Germans played a part in shaping the talk of the mountains, the dominant influence was Scots-Irish.
What are you doing here?
I'm making some moonshine whiskey on Wildcat Road.
About 3 of our 5 to come into the mountains were these Scotch-Irish people. The things that differentiate this noble kind of a dialect in a way, though it's often laughed at, are these characteristics, I think. No one says hair the way we do. We say her. Similarly, we say bar, far, mar, thar. We continue to use the Middle English in front of ing words. So we go a-hunting and a-fishing and so forth. We continue to omit the final G. I suspect, strictly speaking, we don't really omit it. We never did get around to putting it on. We also have our way of saying O-U. That differentiates us from other people. For us, that is a triphthong. We say about the house. If there's an R following that, we really have something interesting. We say flare basket. Let's go up on the mountain and gather flares.
Pronunciations like these are found all over the Appalachian Mountains. This traditional style of speech, words and phrases like plumb right and afeard, is sometimes mistakenly thought to be Elizabethan.
If the boiler don't bust because it's eat up with rust.
Two typical mountain people are Ray Hicks and his wife, Rosie.
Well, Ray and I has been growed up in the mountains. Well, Ray was raised right here, and I was raised not too far from over across the hill there.
Outsiders are impressed by hearing us say hit for it. Hit and it can both appear in the same sentence. If the word is stressed, it's hit. If it's not stressed, it's it. For example, one would never say, I've never heard of hit. It's, I've never heard of it. Hit's something new to me.
You can hear Rosie Hicks say hit for it when she describes the best route to their house.
You fly in an airplane as far as you can come. Then you get in a car or truck and ride as far as you can go and hit. Then you get down and run as far as you can. Then you crawl on your hands and knees as far as you can come. Go that way. Then you straighten up, and then you find a house. It's an old-timey one. It looks haunted, but it's really not.
Ray Hicks is famous round here. People come from miles around to hear him tell folk tales in one of the last true surviving Appalachian accents.
Howdy,
Howdy, howdy. Hello. Yeah.
The next generation will probably never forget these outings.
Howdy, Ray. Howdy. How are you today? Just amazing. How are you? Just come on in.
Howdy, Ray.
Just come on in.
Tell us a ghost story, Ray. Yeah, tell us a ghost story.
Okay.
Many Appalachian stories have come from Scotland, and Ray Hicks tells Jack tales like Stanley Robertson in Aberdeen. The most famous is Jack and the Beanstalk, but in this one, Jack meets a beggar who gives him a magic sack.
He says, I'm going to give you something. He said, here's a sack that if anything gets to bothering you, just say whickety-whack into this sack. And said he'll stuff right down in there. And directly he is a-watching, and down come 6 black devils swinging down through the scuttle hole, he called, and had a sword apiece. They was at him with them swords, and he was a-jumping around there, and that log cabin a-shaking, and so with the sack over there in the corner, he jumped over and grabbed it, and he said, whickety-whack. He said, devils come down in this sack.
The broadest Appalachian accents still linger up here, but a modified version has now spread far beyond these hills. As the Scots-Irish, footloose and restless as ever, moved on down in the early 1800s to lead the westward expansion of the American frontier. But as they traveled down the continent's rivers, their broad accents were slowly leveled out.
The Scotch-Irish moved on from the mountains and began moving down the valleys and rivers into the trans-Appalachian West. The accent based on the Scotch-Irish people has become one of the major dialects, one of the major accents of American English. Lately, the power, the economic power, and the number of speakers in the territory covered by this accent begun to increase greatly. This is the accent of the large portion of America known as the Sun Belt that has been gaining in power and prestige ever since World War II at a very rapid rate. Country music uses this accent, and many of the early performers, the most prominent performers, are from the dialect area, especially from Appalachia. But performers who want to sound like country musicians have to learn to imitate the accent, whether they come from there or not. So they have to learn to sound at least convincing enough to pass in their music for country speakers.
Well, I pulled out of Pittsburgh, heading down the eastern seaboard. I got my diesel wound up, and she's going like never before. There's a speed zone ahead, all right. I don't see a cop in sight. 6 days on the road, and we're gonna make it home tonight.
Yeah, how does it look behind you? Have you seen any bears back there anywhere in front of you?
You hear the accent all over the middle American area, but it's especially associated with truck drivers and with Citizens Band radio, too.
Wayne and Reba Maroney are a husband and wife trucking team who drive their rig down the freeways and highways of America.
Reba's got a more southern accent than I do. I was born in Louisville, Kentucky, and I got more or less that Mason-Dixon line north and south accent.
Truckers like Wayne love to use personalized CB call signs.
Well, different drivers use different handles. My handle will be Red Hot Pepper. My wife's handle is something special. We have other man and wife teams, South Wind, Little Breeze. Frosty and Mimi, that's a man and wife team. Double R, Barbie Doll. You just use alias names, you know, something short that you can remember.
Well, my rig's a little old, but that don't mean she's slow. There's a flame from a stack, and the smoke's a glowing black. It's cold. My hometowns are coming in sight.